Dan and Tim Redpath from Union 32 on today. I'll have Josh do a quick introduction of them, but I would love to also have something from them directly. So Josh, you can kick it off.
All right. Well, much like our previous guests, these guys have a special place in my heart. They were the first in Minneapolis or Minnesota to bring self-pour to the masses. And I love the name they ended up on with Union 32, but the original concept was the Final Brewery.
Right.
Because Dan said, when you go out with your buddies, you have your final drink, and then you have your final drink. So it was kind of to pay homage to that, and just really, it's really interesting for me to see how these projects come to fruition, and everyone has different backgrounds. And with Dan and Tim, Tim's got a technical background, and Dan's got the business background as well, and it's it all fed perfectly into Union 32 with the concept of Minneapolis being the 30 or Minnesota being the 32nd state to join the union. And they're actually not in Minneapolis. They're about 30 minutes south, or 20 minutes south of Minneapolis.
20 minutes. And
it's a really unique community. Like when you go into the area, like it's very family friendly, and when you walk in there on a Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, the place is just jamming. So it's been exciting to see it go from when we had like those little tiny the first iteration to now where we're at. But you guys, you were definitely on the forefront of the concept, and you always remember the first few customers you had, but I'll let you guys jump in and kind of give a little bit about your backgrounds and how you kind of came up with the idea.
Well, cool. Thanks, Josh. I have been a home brewer for almost 15 years, and that's where I got my passion for craft beer. And I've been wanting to own or open up a brewery for probably 7 or 8 years, and was talking about it, but always casually talking about it, kind of hemming and hawing about, I'd love to open a brewery. And finally, my wife got so tired of it, she said, well, either do it or shut up and stop talking about it. So that moved me kind of forward. And then I got a couple of friends of mine, through our children that were interested in investing in the idea. But one of my investors said, well, Dan, you're going to be a brewery, or you want to be a brewery, what's going to make you different? And I didn't have a good answer for him. So I went back, and over a long weekend, I kind of envisioned what we are today. So we changed the concept from being just a brewery, a production brewery, to being a brew pub. And to make us unique, we did a couple of different things. The main thing that separates us from a lot of brew pubs is our self-pour beer wall, which you are all well aware of. And as Josh said, we were the first ones to do that in Minnesota. I think there's 3 or 4 maybe now up in this area. So we did the self-pour beer wall. Our food concept is kind of a food truck on the inside. So you order food at the window, at the food truck window, which is basically just a window into our kitchen. And then we deliver then you take a number and we deliver the food out to you. And then third was being true to Minnesota. And as Josh mentioned, our name, Union 32 Craft House, is based off of Minnesota being the 32nd state of the union. So all 32 of our taps are always Minnesota craft beer. Sometimes I wish I could, would love to bring in a Toppling Goliath or a Pseudo Sue or a Zombie Dust, but unfortunately, fortunately, one of our clicks is that we do all Minnesota beer, which has also really helped us with the Minnesota breweries, right? So since we're a brew pub, we're part of the brewing fraternity, and then we're also out there promoting all of their beer as well. So out of the 32 taps, I would say anywhere from 5 to 7 of the taps are usually our own beer, and then the other 26 taps are the Minnesota craft, beers, ciders, sours, is what we kind of stick to. Final isn't completely gone. Final Brewing Company is the name of our LLC, doing business as Union 32 Craft House. So that's good to know. So that's kind of where we got the idea to start this and kind of how it came to fruition. And Tim has been kind of along the ride since day one, well, actually before day one. And if it wasn't for him doing all of our IT and audio, visual, I mean, everything we do that has to plug in or, he kind of manages for us. But that's kind of the the nickel tour of what Union 32 Craft House is all about.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Dan. Tim, do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, no, it's been a fun ride, right? I was in a large technology company for many years and happened to take a package, and so I was available and ready and willing to ride the journey with Dan, and so I rode that for a while. I'm back in a corporate job now, but I still spend as much time as I can down here, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, it's it's the backgrounds, right? You say, do you have a restaurant background or a bar background or working in a brewery? No, I sold jet fuel for 25 years. Now I just kind of joke that I'm just selling a different kind of fuel. But it's just it's just the passion of wanting to get in the craft beer business, and then like every day is new, and we're learning daily, and it's been a great ride.
How long, guys, have you been in business now?
On July 7th, it'll be 3 years.
Can you tell us just a little bit, before we hop into a deeper question, can you tell us a little bit about the space layout, the beverage wall? Do people see it through the window? Do they have to walk in the sunroom, kitchen, anything like that, so we can kind of picture it?
Yeah, well, would you want me to maybe walk around and kind of show it to you?
You sure can, if you are fine with that.
Let's see if that works. All right, so we're right now and just in our back room, which is like a more of a quiet room that people can rent out or reserve for 20 to 30 people for events. Then we walk down the hallway and past our windows that go into our massive cooler. So people love to look through the window and look at the flow meters and the technology behind the whole PourMyBeer wall. So fun to see people look through that.
I will generally say that I hear this feedback from a lot of our customers that particularly men love to take a sneak peek into the cooler and take photos and stuff like that.
It's so weird that people love to look. I don't know. Okay, yeah, there's 50 kegs in there. People just love to look in the coolers.
They want to see how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
What I do love about your cooler though is it's a direct draw system, and the flow meters and valves, they're right there. So to your point, you can see everything. So it's kind of like anyone that's done home brewing or has access to draft beer, they've never seen what's behind your curtain right there, which is awesome that you have the glass right there for them.
Right. So as you can see behind me, that's our beer wall, the 32 taps, and the cooler is right behind it, and so it's literally it's a 9-inch run from the flow meter to the tap, and then up there is the large screen. It's kind of faded out right now, but that's where the menu of the beers would be. And I'll just kind of do
Untapped. That's where your Untapped normally is, right?
Correct. The Untapped would all that's the Untapped feeds the screen up there.
Makes sense.
Correct. So I'll just kind of do. I'm kind of standing in the corner, and I'll kind of do a little turnaround of our space. And then there's our bar, which is in the center of the room, where we also do cocktails and wine. And then out to the garage door, glass garage door that opens out to our patio. And then right on the other side of our beer wall is our brew house. So there's Casey in there. He's getting ready to do a brew day tomorrow. I think we're doing a rhubarb kolsch. So I think he's going to brew tomorrow. So
that's in the car right now.
that should be a great summer beer. We did it last year as well. And then over there is the kitchen, the food truck, inside food truck kind of concept. As you can see, there's a few people walking around as we just opened the doors for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of the feel, So we are suburbia, right? We're 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes outside of out of the metro area, but we try to make it feel kind of like an urban feel with kind of the wood and some of the exposed beams and the kind of refurbished metal. So we don't want to feel like a typical chain that's in the suburbans, where we would rather feel like kind of a unique space that feel a little bit more urban. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback on our space, and we're about total. We're pretty large. We're about 7,700 square feet in all, when you add this back room, the kitchen, and the brew house. So that's kind of the vibe and feel of Union 32.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how do you balance that traffic at your beverage wall, and how do you balance that traffic to the main bar? So, for example, how do you set your customers up with the carts?
Yeah, Tim, do you want to take this? You're kind of intimate on the operation of the flow of the beer wall.
Sure. I mean, our customers have options, right? But when they first come in the door, they could either go up to the bar and order a beer or a drink. But there's this area there that says beer cards. They go right up to the bar. We do have now a kiosk that's right inside the door as well, where they can go ahead and get a card created. And then really the customers have the choice. And I think that's one of the nice things is some people want to go to the bar and have a bartender pour a beer for them, and that's great. But they also have the option to go up and get a beer card and go and go grab a beer at the wall. And one of the things that I think is the neatest is when people gather up close to the beer wall and they just start talking about beer and, oh, I tried this and I loved it. And, it's not really us having to promote all the different beers or talk about them. And even though we do have beer ambassadors that are up there to help people understand, the system or help them pour beer up at the beer wall, but really it's interesting to see the interaction between the customers when they get up around the beer wall, talking about the different beers and how much they love that experience.
That's amazing. You mentioned beer ambassador. Do you have a beer ambassador there at all times?
We do. I mean, there are some hours like really opening. So if he's opening right now, the first hour the bartender might manage the wall and behind the bar. Or like on a Sunday morning, the bartender might do both. But we found it pretty valuable to have somebody, as we call them, beer ambassadors, to manage the wall. One, on the technology side, and two, to ask questions. Say, what would you recommend, and what kind of ales, so what kind of sours you have, or what kind of reds you have. So, it's, even though a beer wall is kind of a self-serve or kind of an experience, but we really try to get some customer touch points at the wall with our beer ambassador.
No, I think that's a great idea there. Do you tend to have customers that are also asking like, hey, I'm not a beer drinker, why don't you have a wine or cocktail here for me to pour a little of it just to try it?
We do, we get that all the time, but our fallback is because we've at this point, we've decided to do that. I mean, we're never say never, right? So a cold pressed coffee or a wine or a cocktail are all potentials. We just haven't gone there yet. We do have the option for people that aren't beer drinkers to get that cocktail or wine or juice or seltzer, behind the bar.
Yeah, that makes sense. They just cannot do the magical sampling.
They just can't. They just can't do the beer wall. Exactly.
Working for PourMyBeer for a while, I'm a little bit spoiled by that. I like to sample everything before I make that heavy commitment of the full glass.
Totally agree. And even the experienced beer drinker, the beer wall for the first time can be intimidating. So I think that's another huge thing to have the beer ambassador say, okay, this isn't a big, angry, complicated machine. It's, it's pretty easy to manage and to pour your beer. And once people get the hang of it, they love it.
Yeah. And they like to teach others usually. It's a
They
fun
love,
part.
they love to teach other people, especially if they're with a group and they've been there before. They puff out their chest and they can't wait to explain how it works to the rest of their group.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I got a question here from Gore. He said that the space looks amazing. Just to give you some
Awesome.
insight, Gore is based in San Francisco. He has his tap room called Brew Cup over there. He's
Okay.
asking you, how did you guys think about creating the brew pub, given that you didn't come from any brewing background? Do you have any inspiration, like anything you had there, or just like, yeah?
Yeah, it basically comes from me being a home brewer for 15 years and, getting the passion for beer and, and being a home brewer, it's 5 gallons at a time. It's not, 500 gallons at a time, but it's still the science and knowing, you have to, really pay attention to the science and to the sanitation measures to get a good craft beer to come out clean and good. So it was just the craft beer and being a home brewer that really drove me to the passion of getting into the brewing. I wasn't naive enough to think that I was ready and able to be the head brewer of a major system. And we have a 5-barrel system, so relatively speaking, that's small. But for a home brewer, it's massive. So that's why, as you saw back there, Casey, we did hire a head brewmaster. So I get to play around in there and pretend to be brewer if I don't get in his way. He allows me to go back there and brew with him every once in a while.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the third parties you're using? So I know you're using Untapped. Can you tell us if you see that as a beneficial? Have you had it since the very beginning, or were you using any other digital board?
Yeah, Tim?
Yeah, no, I mean, Untapped has been the board that we've used, and we actually have had really no big issues. They were good. They were able to customize a menu for us, so we ended up putting up projectors and screens in order, because of the 32 beers, we wanted all of the beers to be visible up there. And I was able to work with them, and they were able to customize the look and feel for us, where our beers are highlighted, and we were able to get 32 beers on the screen and still be readable from down below.
Right.
We use Toast now. We did use NCR in the beginning, but we've since switched over to Toast, and we have not completed the integration with PourMyBeer at this point, but that's I was just talking to the general manager, and we may start to attempt that next week.
Excellent. How long have you had Toast?
Just to maybe 6 months, 4 or 6 months.
Yeah, 5 or 6 months.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Well, hopefully you guys can switch to that integration soon, so it makes things a little bit easier for you. Speaking about Toast and just POS, do you have a loyalty program in place, or is one of the reasons to switch to Toast to start really fully utilizing that?
We do have a loyalty program. We did have it with NCR as well, but so we do have our VIP or our loyalty cards, and they get points. And based on the points that they get for what they've spent, there's different levels.
Yes, we've had that pretty much since day one. Have had a loyalty program.
Is the loyalty program that is for free, nothing like a VIP group? It's more just of them collecting points for their spending, or how does it work? Can you take us through it?
Yeah, I mean, it is free to join, and they get a card. So every time they make a purchase or check out, those points are accumulated on their account, and when they hit different levels, they get different discounts or different merchandise or different items based on the levels with the dollars that they've spent.
Well, and what I think I like about the Toast is on the old one, we'd have to put in their account number.
Yeah.
And now with the Toast program system, what we like is that as soon as we put in their name or swipe their card, it recognizes it and automatically puts the points on their account.
So since you already took us through the site and I saw that there was some merchandise on site, Can we
Hmm.
start a little bit about that? Because we do have a lot of customers who do merchandise on site, but sadly still a lot they don't. Do you have any recommendation on what works particularly well for you in terms of merch on site, something that doesn't?
Yeah, it's been hit and miss too. You can't see the shirt, but it's not our normal logo. So what we've done is we've done different things with our name. So our real logo is what my hat is. That's kind of our main branded logo. But then with some of our shirts, we've done, and we've had one of our vendors actually here in Minnesota has kind of come up with, they come up with different creative, brands or images for our name. So we've done this one with the cross in the middle. We've done one with out in the shape of Minnesota. Um, it's been nice to have it. I wouldn't say that our merch sales are over the top and carry the day, but it's nice to offer. And it kind of goes where we don't sell any merch for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden we have a week and we'll sell $1,000 worth of merch. T-shirts are really popular.
Hats.
And hats, right? I think those are the main. And we also we've done long sleeve shirts, we've done some sweatshirts, we've done some hoodies, we've done winter hats.
Yeah, the winter caps were nice. I mean, they're super.
Besides besides you having these on site, or just a quick question, besides you having these on site, is there any specific way you're pushing it? Like, do you have any special on the menu, like, hey, buy 2 pictures, get sweatshirt 50% off? Or do you ever do anything like Facebook advertising with the merch, anything like that?
We haven't done a lot of dual promotions with our merch. That's not a bad idea. We've had some sales, and you can now buy some of the merch through our website. But we've never done any dual marketing with, buy a $50 gift card and get a hat or something. The merch is kind of spendy. It's like, that's a $20 hat you're not really going to give away with a $50 gift card. But I mean, that's something to entertain. But at this point, we haven't done much of that.
Yeah. No, it's just what I mean is definitely not to give it for free, but just to push it across the line to really for that merch to happen. Like, for example, on the patio, if you know that it's getting colder outside, you want to make sure that people are aware that you can buy that nice cozy sweatshirt for your wife or girlfriend, and it's right there, to make her warm and remember that fun night.
That's a great idea. We could do some more of that. And actually, one of our best ways of pushing it is by our employees. Right? We have employee staff shirts. We also allow our employees to wear any of our merch. Right? So a lot of them will wear shirts like this or hats, and just having them wearing the actual merch and not just like uniforms. People say, "Oh, I love that shirt you're wearing," or "Oh, the hat," and they go, "Oh, well, it can be yours for for $20." So our best way is having our employees kind of walk around and wearing the different merch.
Yeah, I would have to agree with this, and just to the rest of the group, I have to say that even, for example, I had experience with creating shirts for us that say "Here for the beer," and it has happened to us several times, like when we were at the trade shows with these, that people wanted to buy these from us. So if you put your brand on a shirt where you put some fun slogan, have fun with it, that's when you really are going to be seeing more of your brand walking around your town, which is exactly what you want. So
What you want, right? You want the walking billboards.
yeah, exactly. Like you're getting some little sales from that too, which is great. But on the top of that, you're really having ambassador there. Not to mention that the person who has that shirt, or hat, whichever item, they will remember your brand, and they're more likely to come back to you there. So that's great. It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Let's stick to the marketing, but let's go into the collabs. You do have a few cool brewery signage above you, and you did mention that you have some good relationship with the breweries in the area. So do you do any sort of like events and collaboration with them that particularly work well for you that you would like to highlight and maybe share with the family so they can find some inspiration?
Yeah, what's been really fun, as I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, is since we are a brew pub, so we do brew. We are part of the Minnesota Brewers Guild. So it's kind of fun that we're actually, one of them, in the family, but then we're also really trying to celebrate and promote all they're doing, right? We're not exclusive with just a handful of the big breweries in Minnesota. We specifically don't guarantee any brewery a dedicated tap, because we want the small little brewery that just opens up in Ely, Minnesota, on the Canadian border, that if they want to drive a keg down here and get it on our wall. So that's been super fun, and because of that, we've done a couple of collaborations on beer. So I think we've done maybe 3 different collaborations where either their brewer will come over here and brew a beer with Casey, or Casey will go over to their brewery. So we've had some collaboration beers, which has been a lot of fun.
Do you do any overtakes with specific breweries?
Tap takeovers?
Huh?
Right. That's what I was just going to say. And then it's fun to do tap takeovers too. We haven't had any full tap takeovers. That'd be 32 beers. That's been a lot. But what's fun, we've done several of them where we'll have a brewery come in and we'll put up I don't know, 6 to 8 of their beers on the wall, and then they'll have then we'll kind of have an event or a party, usually on a Thursday night, and they'll have brewery representatives here handing out free swag, a couple shirts, some pint glasses, stickers, buttons, things like that, and hand out free samples of their beer to people as well. So that's gone really well, and we could probably do one of those a week from how many people ask us to do it. And what's been fun, we've actually even done it with some of the distributors, right? So if you get some of the distributors that carry a handful of breweries, we'll coordinate with them. So we'll do a tap takeover, and we'll have 4 breweries in here with 5 beers apiece, and then we'll have 4 different, because since they all know each other anyways, they actually love it where there's more than just one of them, so they can talk and they can go back and forth. But it's been fun to do multiple takeovers at the same time as well.
How do you make sure that your fans or your customers are aware that the tap takeover is happening? Is the social media, newsletter? How do you advertise that, or how do you let them know?
Yeah, yes and yes. So, kind of still on the marketing side, almost or a big portion of our marketing is just done on social media. So we have our website, then you have Instagram, Facebook, and then a newsletter. We put up a newsletter at least once a month with kind of updates, what's going on. So that's our main push to our masses is through the social media, website, Facebook, Instagram, and then our newsletter. And then we'll do posters too, right? So if let's say a big brewery up here in Minnesota, Surly or Summit, they're going to do a tap takeover, we'll have them make up posters 2 weeks ahead of time, and we'll plaster posters, in our in our space so that people that have been here, can see that as well and say, oh, I should come back that Thursday for the takeover. So, signage in our space, and then through the social media outlets.
Awesome. That sounds like great. Do you ever do also Instagram and Facebook advertising?
We have not got into any paid advertising on any of that yet, no.
Okay. And in the marketing section, also any press releases or anything like a placement in magazine or ads of that type? There's a one association or industry magazine up here that we haven't done that yet, and we've kind of watched our marketing dollars as far as that. But we have, whenever we do something new, we've put out to some of our contacts and tried to do press releases. And we've actually been lucky enough to we've done some marketing, we've done some commercial ads on radio. We usually do that right around. We probably don't know, but where we're located, we're literally right across the street from the new Minnesota Vikings facility. So they have training camp there. So the 2 best weeks of my year are end of July, beginning of August during training camp, and we do a free shuttle. We do promotions. So for a month leading up to that, we'll actually do radio ads. So we've done more radio than we have done print advertising. And since it sounds like you have been doing that for years, that makes it look like it's been working well for you, right? Like you, in some way, you see that return on investment, at least by hearing it from the customers or seeing the place more busy.
Right, exactly. And hear people say that they've heard our ad on the radio, and then we've done a couple of times. We've actually had some radio personalities in our space too, and say, Saturday night between 6 and 8, so and so is going to be doing Minnesota trivia, and we've packed it that way. And then because some of these radio personalities really like our place, we've gotten a lot of free verbiage from them where they're just on the air themselves. They'll talk about, I was over at the Vikings complex and I stopped at Union 32 for their chicken fingers or for a pint of beer. So we've gotten some free airtime as well, which has been great.
Word of mouth is really strong as it is, but if it's on the radio, wow, that's
exactly.
Sounds like an easy recipe for everyone over here. You just have to be awesome. So yeah, you have to do a lot of things well. Can you just generally, to wrap up the marketing section, can you tell me, and maybe you too as well, Tim, what worked particularly well? Would you recommend to, for the community to try? Sounds like the radio maybe, but if you have anything else, share that as well. And then what didn't, what you really didn't like?
Well, like I said, without a lot of, money, to put in our marketing budget, we've kind of did that with the radio. Otherwise, we've just tried to really, really be attentive, and even more so lately, to our social media exposure. And, we do have a marketing person she's marketing/events. But then we've also actually brought in a couple of college kids this summer to do some of our Instagram, just to kind of relate a little bit more to the younger crowd and make it a little bit different feel. So I think the social media it has to be a must. That's got to be the number one focus, I think, for advertising and having people find you or get exposed to what you guys are all trying to do. We did a little bit of advertising on Google, even though we didn't on Instagram or Facebook. We have on Google, and then another thing we do some boots on the ground too. Where we are, there's a lot of the office space kind of in this corner of the city. So our marketing salesperson has gone, and literally we've dropped off flyers in office buildings and saying, here's a 2-for-1 or here's a 20% discount. Come check us out. And actually a big piece of our business up until COVID has been groups, right?
Work happy hours types of things.
Work happy hours, anniversaries, birthdays.
Rooms, dinners.
Yeah.
Bridal showers.
Baby showers.
Yeah.
So, people love our space, whether it's in this back room or they do a couple of tables out front, kind of closer to the beer wall and stuff. We're crossing our fingers that people get comfortable doing that again sometime soon, because that was a huge part of our business, was doing these, 10 to 30 person type of group activities.
From a food to beer ratio, where do you guys fit into that percentage wise? Is it 60% beer, 40% food? What's the mix there?
That's pretty close. I thought it was going to be a lot more. I thought we were going to be 70% beer and 30% food. But the way it turns out, it's about 55% beer, 45% food. So it's pretty close.
And then what percentage of the beer is like to go? Do you do crowlers or growlers, or is it all in-house?
We do crawlers and growlers. We do both. But man, I would say 85-90% of it is in-house versus to go. Well, I shouldn't say that. Over the last 3 months, It was almost all crawlers and growlers. Well, it was, right? Yeah. So actually, and that's gonna help us too, because people would come in here and they would come in here for the experience and having a beer here, and wouldn't always grab a crawler or growler. Sales were fine, but nothing spectacular. But now that people got used to buying crawlers and growlers and drinking them at home, I think we got a lot of new customers that never had bought crawlers and growlers before. So we hope that some of that momentum of the last couple months for that takeout is going to continue.
No, I'm always a big fan of business models that work really well. And one here in Chicago is a company called Cooper's Hawk. So they you pay, $19 or $29 a month, and you become part of the wine club, and you get, two bottles of wine for that membership cost. And I really think, in your space, that would be phenomenal. Like, it accrues. So if you don't use it, you don't lose it. So if someone commits to $20 a month or $19 a month in Union 32, growlers, then, it's monthly recurring revenue. And what surprised me is the location here in Wheeling, which is not a high, it's Wheeling, Illinois. No one's ever heard of it. They do $5 million a year. $1 million of it is the wine club, So it's like there's this opportunity for the staff to sell it, and then they get a bonus for selling someone on the beer club or the Union 32 club, but you get that recurring revenue, and it's guaranteed to come back. So I'd love to explore a model that allows you guys to really capitalize on something like that, because you guys could kill it with that.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
So it accrues, right? So like if you don't get in here for 2 months because you wintered down in Arizona, you come back and you can get 6 CROWLERS in April or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but it guarantees that the first of every month you're getting, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
In recurring, which I think is great for restaurants and especially your concept.
I love that idea, and I'm going to go talk to my group as soon as we're done here. I love that idea. And discount it, right? So if a CROWLER is usually $10, so give them 2 CROWLERs for $15 or something a month. Yeah. Because
you got them hooked in. They already love your brand, and you guys are always making awesome stuff. Like when Tim sent that bourbon barrel age, man, that was awesome. Like
that's really good. Yeah,
I'd sign up for the club just based off that.
Well, see, Dan and Tim, I told you that this was going to be beneficial for you too, and you might actually get some ideas of this too. So that's great. I got a question for you here from the chat from Brian Rammer, who actually runs a brewery in Washington State, Bartle's Brewery. He's asking if you guys fill the CROWLERS off the wall, or if you do that at the bar.
We couldn't do both, but we do the majority of it at the bar. Well, so one of the laws here in Minnesota, which is unique to Minnesota, is that by law we can only fill CROWLERS and GROWLERS of our own beer, of what we make here on premise. So out of the 32 beers, you can only get a CROWLER of what we make, which is good because that's obviously the economical. That makes a lot of sense for us. And we always have our beer behind the wall. at the bar and the wall. So it's just set up that usually our bartender fills it, unless the bartender is busy and the beer ambassador isn't, then we'll switch it up. But most of the time it's behind the bar.
Are you able to sell canned beers of the other breweries?
No.
Wow. U.S. is
no.
weird.
Yeah, Minnesota is so antiquated with some of our laws. It's ridiculous, and we've been working with the Brewers Guild for a couple of years now, trying to change some of these with not a ton of success.
Since we were talking a little bit about the beer sales, the food sales. Can you talk a little bit more about the key performance indicators? What are you tracking to make sure that you consider this week successful, this month successful? If you compare it to the previous years, how do you kind of go about that?
As far as indicators, you have to look at the bottom line, and that's our focus. Growth sales is what I watch on a daily basis. But you got to look, monthly on the P&L and what is the net, what is the net number? Because when you're doing, food and liquor and wine and beer, we probably have 37 or 38 full-time employees. Well, we don't right now, but before March 15th we did. So we're always looking at the bottom number, and that's the way we can try to control costs, and try to manage labor. Food costs, margins, but what I like to look at, knowing that I always got an eye on that, is I try to do trends. Now that we've been open for 3 years, I really try to find trends and compare apples to apples. So I'll look at this Friday, and compare it to what's happened the last few Fridays, rather than say, oh, how did we do tonight compared to last night, or how do we do, Thursday compared to Wednesday. I'll compare Friday to the last couple of Fridays, or I'll compare this weekend, what weekend, how do we do this weekend compared to last weekend. And then in Minnesota, we really can get seasonal up here in the upper Midwest with the weather. So, to really try to see how we're doing, on kind of a macro view would be, how are we doing in the spring of 2020 versus the spring of 2019, which is usually one of our busiest months or times. And our slow times would be January, February, which is kind of expected up here. Well, did we tread water better this year than we treaded water last year? How was our holiday season this year compared to last year? How was training camp, Vikings training camp this year compared to last year? So I really try to do some micro and macro comparisons on where our business is flowing, rather than trying to get so hooked into the daily gross numbers. We'll look at the net numbers monthly, which we have to try to manage the cost. But I really try to look at those trends, whether they're weekly trends, monthly trends, or seasonal trends, is what I really try to, how I try to gauge on how successful we are, or if we need to, change our emphasis on anything.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you do anything specific, or do you have your staff do anything specific for pushing certain food items? Anything that has worked particularly well that you could maybe share with us?
Yeah, so we, we'll do we do happy hour pricing on a few items each day, and those change week to week, but they're typically the same type of items. But then if we're really trying to move one item, we call it a eat of the moment. So every week we have a special, which is eat of the moment, that we really try to discount and push a product. One could be because we got a good price on that food this month or this week, or we need to move it because it's time to change to something different. So our eat of the moment, and we discount it, is kind of a fun way. And now we have it to the point where people are asking, so what's the eat of the moment this week? Because they know they're going to get a good deal and hopefully something good. And it could be anything from onion rings to chicken wings to a Greek wrap. So it can be all over the board. A lot of times it's more on the appetizer side of things, the majority of the time. But the eat of the moment has kind of been our little niche for how if we're really trying to move one product, how we do that.
No, that's terrific and much simpler for the kitchen to make things like that in bulk, obviously. So that's a great idea. Eat of the moment, you said?
Yep, eat of the moment.
Nice, I like that. Do you have anything specific that you have your staff do, like in terms of, for example, pushing the CROWLERS or GROWLERS? We do. Right. So, we don't have a lot of touch points, but like behind the wall, behind the food truck window, we're always trying to, up the sale. So if they have a burger, we say, do you want Cajun fries with that? Or would you like an extra, so we're trying to add to their orders. And the same thing behind the bar is that we have signage. We always have, when it comes to the cocktails and the liquor side of things, we'll always have some special cocktails of the week or of the month that they're supposed to be asking, every time they greet a new customer that they, and we have tabletops, cards for whatever the specials are that week or that month as well. Mm-hmm. For the special cocktails of the week and month, do you let the bartenders kind of their fantasy play and create their own invention? Yeah?
It's all created by them. They come up with them, and sometimes they've been phenomenal, and sometimes they've been not so good. And those ones change out real quick. But yeah, and they get fun. They sit here and try to get creative on coming up with, in October they'll try to come up with some, a Halloween cocktail, or, the 4th of July they'll try to come up with some, colorful cocktail. So yeah, they do have a lot of fun creating the cocktails of the month.
Okay, before we hop into the final, most expected, timely section of a COVID, can you just share any sort of secret sauce or anything that you think that we haven't covered, that we haven't asked you about, that you think might be good for the community to hear about, know about?
I think the word you just used, community, one of our founding ideas or principles before we even opened between me and my two partners was being a good community partner, being good for the community. And we've really tried to stick to that with everything we do. We've with the local police department and city hall, we have great working relationships with them, which just goes a long way when you need something. It's fun, like the police department, they'll have, when somebody retires, they have the retirement parties here. So really trying to be a good steward to the community, and along that same idea, right? So there's been a lot of social and community unrest here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, as you're all aware of. So we try to be a part of the solution, and we're creating a beer that's all the proceeds are going to go to local charities, and then we try to get a lot of pound for the buck as far as promoting and marketing that we're creating a beer that all proceeds are going to go to local charities. So we've done different beers for charities throughout the 3 years. So no real secret sauce, but I think keeping an eye on trying to be a good steward to the local community can really go a long way.
Let's hop into the last section. Guys, if anybody has any other question, throw them into the chat. And in the meantime, I'll just ask Dan on, how are you trying to survive this crazy time? How are you adjusting to this period and the new customers' expectation in the post-COVID world?
Right. And trying to survive is an understatement, right? It's hard. And we're nowhere close to being out of the woods yet. Here in Minnesota, we reopened on June 10th, so about 2 weeks now, to 50% capacity with social distancing, along with our patio. So we have a pretty good sized patio, which has been a godsend. But we put our tables 6 feet apart, and inside, instead of moving tables out, we've just put reserved signs on kind of every other table, so that people still will feel comfortable social distancing inside. So we think we've done a really good job of making sure that our space, which is big enough that people can still feel comfortable, that they can social distance. Now that's a little tricky, as you guys all know, when you have a self-poured beer wall, because people are getting up and moving around more than maybe a typical restaurant environment. But we haven't had many complaints. All of our staff wears masks and wear gloves. We have hand sanitizer in like 6 different areas in the space. Of course, we take the temperature and log the temperature of all of employees before they start their shifts. We were actually taking the temperature of every customer that walked in the door for the first week, and then we were kind of told by our customers that no place else is really doing that, even though it was suggested by the CDC to take of all customers. We actually discontinued doing that this week, but that was another thing we were doing. And actually with the beer wall, our beer ambassador is pouring the beer. So I don't know if you could tell when I walked out there, but we have a table in front of the beer wall, and as of right now, we're having the beer ambassador pour the beer. So unfortunately it's not working how we wanted to as far as the experience of pouring a beer, and that's why when Josh showed me that kind of tap sleeve or tap napkin, it gives me some interest, because that's a way that we can open up that experience to our customers. What we've been trying to think of, we're trying to maybe have them where they kind of align, 6 feet apart, where they come into the area, sanitize their hands before they touch a glass or touch the tap or screen, is one way of doing it. But we're still working on that. And but as of right now, our beer ambassador with a mask and the gloves on are pouring the beer for our patrons.
I would say that if not for the Tapkins, which are of course a terrific solution too, it's even simple gloves, the cheap gloves that you can like get in big bulk for like you use in the kitchen.
Yeah.
All the customers will be taking photos of them. Like the world has changed, that obviously promote user-generated content, and that's still safe for them. Obviously, you still want to have a staff showing there every 20 minutes or even maybe more often to clean the wall, so you're still displaying that cleanliness, but you can definitely have the staff, the customers themselves use ideally glove or maybe even a tissue possibly to just pour their own adventure, because I do think that steals the fun from them if you have a.
It does, and that's why we had to find a different solution, and we were talking about this 2 days ago about what that is going to be. I didn't think about that, but actually having the customer grab and put on a glove and then when they're done pouring a beer, just throw that glove away, right?
I can send you like a quick video with John Felico that he's doing that. He's making it mandatory, and he said like for him it's been working wonders. People are taking photos of themselves, sharing it with others, saying that it's safer than it would have been in a regular bar because they don't have to talk to
a bartender or waiter.
Who potentially get sick from someone else. They also don't have to be in the crowded and busy bar area where you have to wait in line. They just wait that the beer will, oh, now there is only 2 people, I'm going in. And so it's like for them it's safer. So if you position it the right way, I think 100% you can just have a glove or tissue or the Tapkins, and still the customers can have fun, and you can have your staff member back without having to use them for that, for sure.
I think that's something we definitely need to explore.
Another thing that I would just suggest generally, and this goes for you, but also anybody in the community, instead of just having signs like reserved to block your space out, have fun with it and make, jokey or punchy signage there so people are most likely to like take a photo of it and tag you on their Instagram or Facebook, because again, their community will see that you guys are open and that you're having fun with the post-COVID situation and you're maybe mocking it. Everybody's ready for jokes about this after 3 months of this craziness. So even maybe putting a keg as like being seated on those taken tables and put your branded shirt on them or something, have really fun with it. Have your staff kind of brainstorm of what could be like cool things enough to put at those tables to make other people want to take photos of it. So that way it's again like just giving you more word of mouth. It's nothing you have to pay for. Those tables are not being used anyway. So if anything, just make them fun. So people want to give you that extra word of mouth there.
That's a fun idea. One thing we're not going to do it at all tables, but at 1 or 2 tables, we're going to set up some human dummies to make it look like they're sitting there having a beer.
Yeah.
So something fun like that.
Yeah, or if you're even a family like focused, if you have sometimes like kids or like families coming in, it would be fun to even do like a stuffed animal table, because kids are gonna want to have a picture like of that, So it's just another kind of little thing. You can definitely.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, I would say have your staff kind of think about it, because the more head you can put together, the cooler ideas you can come up with there, for sure.
Perfect.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much. This was great. I'll make sure I'll follow up with those hike recommendations that I've put.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
And if you want to brainstorm any farther on any of the post-COVID strategy or anything like that, you got my email. So
yeah, I'll reach out to you, and I might even have my marketing person reach out to you as well if you don't mind.
That would be terrific. No, yeah, I will be happy to help there. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, and thanks everyone for coming. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.